So what is it about family films that draws you to want to direct them?
Usually family films offer the two things that I personally at this point in my life can't do without making a movie, which is a sort of deep emotional theme, kind of, wearing your heart on your sleeve to an extent as far as the storytelling goes. I love that. As well as a healthy sense of humor,
Sure.
And a kind of irreverence to what you're doing. So I love that, mostly in family films, you have those two elements. What I like to do, though, is not think of these things as, for children or for kids,
Right.
even though, they are hopefully partially. I think, trying to tell the best story under giving circumstances is always great. And a lot of family films have, in my opinion, the more sophisticated storytelling these days.
And you mentioned earlier today, when we did a little footage screening, that you were a
Yeah.
fan of the books too.
Yes.
What did you pull out for Percy's kind of main theme, his character arc, that we could focus on for the sequel?
Right. Well, Percy's main character arc in this movie is, I think that he is, like a lot of teens of that age, even after you succeeded once, you're still kind of plagued with self-doubt and a lack of confidence, having to do with a question of identity. Who am I? Am I supposed to be here? Are the shoes that I'm being given too big?
Right.
Can I not fulfill what I think is my destiny? So Percy, in the beginning of our movie, has been overtaken by someone who's stronger, better, and more liked overall in Camp Half-Blood.
Right.
So overcoming that within himself and with the help of others is really the central theme of this movie.
Gotcha. Since you said you were a fan of the books, how did you kind of balance fan expectations from the books themselves versus, showcasing your own vision and staying true to your creative approach?
Right. Well, a movie has its own kind of laws of structure and pacing, and the real challenge was taking the great book by Rick Riordan that is a sprawling, multi-hundred-page epic, and really distilling it into something that works for 95 minutes, introducing new characters, introducing, some more aspects of the mythology of Percy Jackson that we hadn't really addressed in the film before. That, I think, is sort of something that I've felt the fans would really react to well, is sort of digging deeper into the mythology of Camp Half-Blood, Talia's tree, the prophecy that seems to foretell what Percy will or won't do. I try to sort of focus on some central sort of like tentpoles in the story, and then sort of consolidate, sometimes go off book a little bit when necessary, but staying true to the main strand of the story.
Gotcha. And you did mention that we obviously have the characters from the previous film, but we also have a host of new characters coming in.
Right.
Can you just talk about sort of your relationship with the previous cast versus bringing in some new cast members?
Yeah. Well, the relationship with the previous cast was great because I'd never done a film before where a lot of the actors were cast.
Right.
So you're basically arriving and you're the new guy.
Right.
They were incredibly inviting and nice under those circumstances, especially taking over for someone like Chris Columbus. Sure. I think I had a ton of fun with adding new faces to that equation because I think you need to the second time around.
Right.
And it's really a way to sort of make the movie your own. Tyson, hugely important character,
Sure.
played by Douglas Smith. Stanley Tucci, a guy I've always wanted to work with. Not to speak of Nathan Fillion, who I've been a longtime fan of. To have admired these people for a long time and then bring them into this was just, a dream come true.
Cool. And just real quick before I have to wrap with you today, how long was your original cut of the film, your first cut? And about how much was cut out, and do you think we'll see that on the eventual Blu-ray?
You might actually, I have to say, because I'm kind of a planner, meaning we do a lot of storyboarding, sketching, pre-visiting even of action sequences. I will say that my first cut was not that much longer than the final film. I would say maybe you have 2 additional minutes, 3 minutes of stuff, which I think I'd be more than happy to share on a DVD and Blu-ray.
Sure. Anything else coming up for you in the near future?
Yeah, you know, there's a couple of things, developing one thing at Fox that Sean Levy is producing
Okay.
that we're working on. But there's many plates spinning, and you never know really what will stay afloat and what not.
Gotcha. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Oh.
And good luck with the movie.
Absolutely.